Hi, welcome to episode 10 of The Life of Jesus. And Eve is going to take us to the next chapter, which is
absolute. I mean, we call it an endless walk.
Oh, that's right. They do have an endless walk.
It's such a long trip, yeah.
Yeah.
So before we start the story, I wanted to go back to at least summarize the previous episodes, They were crossing Saudi Arabia, and at one point they came to an oasis, right? You probably remember that.
Right.
And there was nobody to welcome them, and all the houses were closed. And it turned out that there was a man who was thought to be a little bit insane, who had recently died. And his soul was some kind of hovering or above the village, and people were afraid, so they all basically sheltered themselves in houses, closing the windows and everything, just to make sure that the soul would not attack or try to possess any living being. And Yeshua, again, going against his vows of Nazir, basically helped funnel and help the transition of that soul to the light.
Right, that's right. Yeah. So he had to speak to somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Broke the silence.
So at that point, the leader of the caravan, and I think we need to introduce him, his name is Melkus. Okay, Melkus is going to be extremely important in the life of Yeshua. I don't want to unveil too much what he's doing, but Melkus is going to be traveling with Yeshua all the way to Kashmir, I think. And he will also help him on the way back.
Oh, wow. So he's with them the whole time?
Yes.
Like when they come back 16 years later?
When they come back 18 years later.
Or 18 years later,
yeah,
okay.
He's with him again.
Oh, okay.
And he will be again with Yeshua after the crucifixion, when Yeshua moves to the east.
Okay.
He will help him again. So, very important person in the life of Yeshua.
I guess he could document things, couldn't he?
He could. But I guess,
you don't hear anything about him in the Bible, though.
No.
That name doesn't come up.
And so Melkus and the other caravan helpers, are really impressed by what Yeshua just did. The fact that he helped that soul, transition to the light, is putting Yeshua in some kind of pedestal in the caravan. So everybody is very respectful toward him. They barely talk to him anymore. I mean, it's like he's...
They're afraid to talk to him now.
So, only one, Yoshiram, his old friend, is basically still stuck in the same paradigm, same stuff. He's telling Yeshua, okay, well, Yeshua, since you broke your vow of Nazir, you should be shaving your hair. Because that's what you do normally when you break a vow. You would have to shave your head completely and be bald, which would be horrible, with the kind of trip they are doing and the sun heating on you and everything. And Yeshua refuses completely and explains the following to Yosh. I mean, keep in mind that Yosh is old and is not as supple. His mind is somehow programmed in a certain way by the Jewish religion. So that's the way it goes, yeah. And so Yeshua explained to him, my father, and when he said my father, he's not talking about Yusuf, he's talking about the Creator, okay, God, which is actually above all the gods of all the religions, okay.
Right.
When he talks about the Father, it is the ultimate Creator. So the ultimate Creator, his father, never told him to have such rules.
Right, because they're all man-made rules.
Yeah, exactly. and then Yeshua explained to Yosh that, he wants to be in service to life, and that is the most important for him.
Right.
And that it feels also stronger helping life, instead of just following blindly all the precepts and the rules of the vows of becoming a Nazir. So Yosh, after, some meditation and thinking, realized that he's stuck really in old beliefs, and which is good, I mean, 14-year-old Yeshua is teaching, this man, Yosh, is probably was 60, 65 or 70 years old, you know, that he needs to change his way of seeing things, which is very interesting, right?
Right.
It's like the passing of the guard, right? The changing of the guard. And Yosh has a very interesting response to Yeshua. He tells Yeshua, basically, Yeshua, you are proposing yourself to write a new code of living. And we know how much
Right.
this is true, right? And at that point, you know, Yosh is is very respectful of Yeshua, and he offers to remove the ashes from Yeshua's face and hair. He said, at least, you know, let me do that, since you are no longer following, taking your vow of Nazir, allows me to clean your face and your hair, which is very nice. Yeah.
Very nice.
So I wanted to also open the discussion to the help for transitioning the soul to the astral plane,
Right.
and maybe we can talk a little bit about that. You know, this is something that most people, unfortunately, do not know anything about,
Right.
and I think it's important that we talk about. I feel it's important because all during the life of Yeshua is going to be helping people. He's going to be resurrecting people who are supposedly dead. And so when we understand the mechanisms, I think we'll be able to make a distinction between resurrection and coming back.
Okay.
Because there is really no such thing as resurrection, you know. But I know we are going against the biblical beliefs and the traditional religious beliefs, but
Right.
there is no such thing as resurrection. I mean, once the body is dead, it is over.
Right.
Okay, but there is a period between the physical death and what we would call the final death. And during that period, a lot of things can happen.
Well, can I ask you a question about something?
Sure.
What about people with near-death experiences?
That's a very good example.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
people who have near-death experience are most of the time clinically dead,
Right.
right?
Right.
So if you bring them to an hospital or to a doctor, they would say, yes, they are dead. But in fact, they are not dead. Simply that their consciousness and their astral body and all the other bodies on top of that are detached from the physical body. So
Okay.
that's what I wanted to bring to the audience, is the knowledge of the silver cord. Some people may have heard about it,
Right.
but there is a silver cord, which is the link. It's almost physical. It's not exactly physical, but it's almost physical. There is a link between the physical body and the higher principles of our consciousness. And as long as this cord is not severed, is not broken, it's always possible to bring back someone to life. And that's what Yeshua
Okay.
does most of the time.
Okay.
People think that, victims have been killed or dead, but as long as the silver cord is not broken, you can bring them back to life.
Oh, okay.
If you don't do anything, of course, the consciousness will go away.
Right.
So, and then there are a lot of things that used to be done for when somebody was dying, and that to help the transition of the consciousness and the astral body to the higher realms. And that was some of them were called the lost sacraments. You know.
The lost or last?
Last.
Okay,
The
last sacraments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and usually it consisted into putting some special oils on the chakra between the eyes, which is the sixth chakra, right?
Like frankincense or
frankincense,
sandalwood,
and also
or...
to open the seventh chakra, which is located on top of the skull. Okay, so that the astral body and all the other higher bodies could exit from the physical body.
Right.
Right.
It makes it easier.
Yeah,
It still does. It
It
just
does.
makes it easier.
And then, the Catholic churches were using masses, right, to guide the consciousness of dead people into the right direction. Okay, So usually after the death of a person, like a week or 2 weeks later, there will be a mass performed with the help of the angels to basically lead and guide the consciousness to the
So you're
higher
saying the
plane.
church would do that?
Yes, the Catholic Church does that. Yeah,
Okay.
they used to.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't remember that growing
No,
up. But
no, and
Yeah.
I know the Christian churches in America do not do that.
Right.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean for them it's completely. But again, it's part of the Hermetic tradition, which has been lost for the most part, you know. But I remember when my father was dead, my mother had a couple of masses being said for him a couple of weeks later.
Okay.
Yeah, to help with the normal process. And then there are also some people like Isabella who can help, you know, and some of those lost souls to find
To find,
to
yes.
find a path, you know,
Yes.
to the.
Well, I usually do that when they haven't found that place,
Yes,
and they're
exactly.
still not like 2 weeks later for anybody.
Oh,
I
no,
usually just
no.
do it if they're,
Yeah,
you know.
there is
it's-
an enormous
Yeah.
amount of souls who are lost,
well,
just roaming, you know, around the surface of the planet, and not really realizing what happened to them.
right.
So anyway, so I'm sure we will have you know, opportunities to go back into those discussion, but I wanted to explain the presence of the silver cord because we will go back to that very often every time Yeshua performs a so-called resurrection. Okay, it's not really a resurrection; it's a calling back of the consciousness into the body, because he can see that the silver cord has not been
Okay,
severed
so that's what
and
he
broken.
sees. Okay.
Yeah. So let's go back to our caravan now. So we have, you know, everybody is walking. So we will display the map again to basically to show our audience what they are doing, the trip. So they have been traveling east, you know, crossing Saudi Arabia. And then at one point, they are going to steer to the northeast. So they're going to go up to the northeast. And this is very visible on the map. So Melkus again is in charge of the whole caravan, and he hopes by doing that to join more familiar routes with opportunity with, you know, to join with other caravans, because, you know, again, the number makes you
Stronger.
and more resilient to any attacks, you know.
Right.
And they also hope to find more oases, villages, water, and protection from the human marauders,
Right.
which is basically the biggest threat.
Right.
It's not the nature so much; it's really the herds of marauders and
I call them
pirates.
pirates.
Yeah, land pirates.
Yeah.
And so our young Yeshua is lost in meditation. You know, I mean, you have to realize that he's on his dromedary, right, all day long, and a dromedary walks about 2 or 3 times faster than a man would walk by walking.
Okay.
So it's quite. I think they.
And
can,
it's a camel.
yeah, a dromedary is a
Right.
camel is a variety of dromedary. Most of the so-called camels are dromedary. In fact,
Okay.
they are the one with a single hump.
Okay.
Okay, well the camel have dual humps.
Oh, okay, I
But
got it.
they are very rare species actually.
Oh.
Yeah, they have longer hair, which is not suitable for the kind of trip they are doing and so forth.
Oops.
Yeah. So the dromedary is really the ideal animal, you know. It can stay, I think, close to 2 weeks without drinking
Oh my gosh.
or eating, yes. So the hump is basically
Holding
full
everything.
it's holding the fat and some moisture.
Right.
So
okay.
they take this energy from the hump.
Oh, okay.
It's like their reservoir, the tank.
They carry around with them.
Yeah. So
Oh.
he's riding a dromedary, and the name of the dromedary is called Issem, Issem. So that's the name of the dromedary, right? And Yeshua develops a very close relationship with Issem, and he communicates with Issem telepathically.
Of course.
Yeah. And at one point, you know, when Issem is standing, you know, waiting for Yeshua to come back, when Yeshua comes back toward him, Issem automatically kneels down, you know, on the ground so that Yeshua can climb on top of him.
It's nice. Yeah.
So they have
Sweet.
So Yeshua is learning also how to read the noises, you know, because a dromedary is actually very noisy. I mean, they do all kind of noises.
Snorting and what?
Snorting, and those have a certain meanings.
Oh.
But you have to
They're
understand.
probably talking to each other.
Yes, they probably
I
do.
bet those sounds are them talking to each other.
Yeah.
Like, boy, this guy's heavy.
So
or whatever.
he's
Sorry.
learning how to read the, you know, all the noises and the faces that the dromedary is doing. And we have to see. I mean, for people who have seen dromedaries for real, they are very expressive.
Yeah.
They're
Their
very
faces
funny.
are really expressive.
Oh yeah, they're precious.
They're
yeah.
so cute.
So Issem and Yeshua are going to be basically riding together for many, many, many months. Okay, so they will develop a very close relationship. And so to the point that
It's like a pet, right?
yeah, it's like, oh yeah,
yeah.
definitely, yeah. To the point that Melkus, the head of the caravan, notices the close relationship and the complicity between Issem and Yeshua, and he congratulates him for that.
Oh.
You know,
Why it takes a long time for somebody to get to
right?
that.
Yeah, he said, you know, this is a young man of 14-year-old, you know, really being in symbiosis with his dromedary. You know?
Yeah.
And so that opens a discussion basically, and Melkus becomes a lot more friendly, and he breaks the kind of respect he had for Yeshua. Because after the funneling of the soul to the higher realms, you know, everybody in the caravan was very respectful and actually a little bit afraid by Yeshua, you know. But
Right.
now they are trying to get closer to him, and they realize that he has a lot to bring to.
Well,
to
they
the
don't
horse.
understand that. You know, it's hard for people to understand.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
it is, yeah, yeah. So Melkus is, you know, opening the discussion and asking Yeshua, you know, why such a young man like you is taking such a long trip, you know? I mean, you know, many months of crossing the entire Middle East, going to India, you know, why are you doing that? And so he's asking him, you know, is your family very wealthy? Are you being a tourist? Or what are you trying to find going east?
Right, right.
And Yeshua responds to Melkus, you know, I want to get older and learn. So when he says that, it's not, we should understand it not getting older physically. It's getting older in your mind and your spirit, your experiences.
Yeah,
yes.
right.
Yeah, that's what it wants. And that surprises Melkus. You know, because Melkus is a trade man. I mean, you know, he's driving caravan like somebody today would drive a big cargo ship, you know, from one harbor to the next.
Right.
I mean, that's his role, right? And then, you know, trading goods and making sure that the animals are doing great. So very strong friendship develops between Melkus and Yeshua. And we talked a little bit about it at the beginning, but those two will remain very, very, will have a very friendly relationship for the entire life of Melkus and the entire life of Yeshua.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So again, it's not a coincidence that Melkus was in charge of that caravan, you know, that was taking Yeshua to the east. And so it turns out that Melkus is actually very intelligent. He has a perception and understanding of nature. You know, as a leader of a caravan, he can read every little plant.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
every little plant seen, you know, tell him something. He even perceives invisible presences
Oh,
in the sand, you know, or in the mountains.
everything's alive for him.
Yes,
Because everything
yes.
is
And
alive, but
he has a sixth
kind of hard to
sense.
perceive.
He has a sixth sense for direction. You know, you could almost say he has an embedded GPS into himself. You know,
I need that.
or a knowledge of the maps and the terrain
Right.
and everything. And so it is a very precious man to have for a caravan. You know, and he's always on the lookout making sure that nobody gets hurt. It's very, very dedicated.
Well, I'm sure there was no accident that he was actually selected.
No.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So after many weeks of walking, and again, we will be displaying a map to show exactly what they are doing, and they arrive in the city of Hafsamane. So, according to the Akashic record, that could be, and it's probably the city of Ispahan, okay, which is famous for its beautiful architectures and the gardens with flowers, very flowery gardens. And I believe that still today they have a lot of gardens and beautiful buildings.
Are we gonna have pictures of those?
Yes, I'm gonna try to find an aerial picture of the city so we can see what it is. So, and the city is also famous for resisting to someone called Nimrod. Nimrod was a king full of arrogance and destruction, and it was, according to the Bible, he was the grandson of Noah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Noah. So
That's funny because, like, when you get mad at somebody, you call them a Nimrod.
yeah, maybe there is a good reason.
Maybe that's why.
So Yeshua, goes back into his memories, and when he was in the Carmel School of Mysteries, he learned about the story, the history of those countries. And for him, Nimrod was the king of Babel,
Right.
probably Babylon and so forth. And he has been enslaving a lot of people and a lot of cultures. And I'm thinking, and I found a picture of Nimrod, just looking at the picture, I would say is an offspring of the Anunnakis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a long beard, going all the way down.
Yeah.
Much taller than the majority of human beings. I mean, definitely, I would say a semi-god, offspring of Anunnakis. Yeah.
Okay.
Which probably explain why he was so vicious and
Right.
Arrogant. Yeah. So. Before they arrived to Ispahan or Hafsamane, Yosh has something to tell Yeshua. And Yosh is always full of secrets, he has those ideas, and they don't come up immediately. He has to mature them, or he has to boil.
He has to ruminate.
Yeah, he has to ruminate it before
Yeah.
he can spit it out,
Well, that's good.
Yeah, and he tells Yeshua, okay, I'm going to tell you, when you left and you decided to take that caravan to the east, your uncle Yusuf of Arimathea became very, very sad. So remember that Uncle Yusuf paid for the whole caravan, right?
Right.
So he gave a lot of money to Melkus, to make sure that those two would arrive safely to their destination. But at the same time, he was extremely sad because the dream of Yusuf was to take Yeshua to an island located beyond the country of Kal. The country of Kal is what will become later on Gaul, which will become later on France.
Oh, okay.
And that island we are talking about is England.
Okay.
So Yusuf, because of his, he had a fleet of merchant ships, was actually sending cargoes and precious stuff, to all kind of places, Spain, France, probably to Italy as well, and all the way to England.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And he had the dream, he had somehow the vision that Yusuf would do something in England.
Okay.
So we know that Yusuf, that Yeshua.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeshua will never go to England, right?
Okay.
At least physically.
Right.
Okay. We know that he will go there in an astral plane, and he will
Do some visiting.
Sometimes he will do some visiting, yeah. And there will be a group of Essene people later on who will go to England and live in particular near Glastonbury, I believe, right?
Right.
So the dream of Uncle Yusuf will not exactly happen. You know, it will be somehow modified. Let's say the protagonist that he was dreaming about will not go to England yet.
Oh, okay. But why did he want to tell him that?
Well, because Yoshiram had this stuff on his heart and he needed to express it, you know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's something that Uncle Yusuf confided to him and he needed to express it. You know?
Okay.
Yeah. And so Yeshua realized that Uncle Yusuf is basically dreaming too much about him. He's still very young and he said, you know, maybe he's going too fast. Things will happen in time when they need to happen.
Right. Go with the flow.
Go with the flow, exactly, yeah. And so finally they arrived in the city of Hassamane, which is Ispahan, and Yeshua is a little bit surprised, you know, because it's totally a chaos of animal tents, and this is due to the fact that it is a convergence of many caravans.
Oh,
So
okay.
this place is like a grand central station, you know, for all the caravans transiting through the Middle East.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. So,
That must have been a sight.
yeah, that must have, yeah, definitely, yeah. So poor Yeshua was hoping, you know, to get some rest, enjoy the gardens and, you know, surrounded by flowers and find the time to meditate or just relax.
Oh, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, and he's thinking the fact that he's always on the move, you know. He never has, since he was born, he has been traveling to Egypt, learning, you know, going to temples all over the place. Then he was 6 years of school, intense schooling.
Right, that's right.
Then visit to Caravan, you know, taking that silly vow of Nazirs, and then the caravan for months. So they stay about 4 days in Ispahan, and while Melkus and his helpers are negotiating, you know, the things for the caravan, basically unloading some supplies, getting new supplies, feeding the animals, and so forth, Yeshua and Yoshiram are visiting the city and finding it absolute pure beauty. So there are, at that time at least, you know, there were sumptuous gardens, beautiful flower, and rich palaces, which are very different from what they used to see in Galilee and Judea. You know? So he's not used to this display of richness and wealth and beautiful architecture.
Oh, okay.
This is something that...
What was it, like more mosaic style?
Yeah,
Was
mosaic,
it like
yeah.
colorful and,
And again, we cannot talk about Arabic religion because the Arabic or the Muslim religion did not exist at that time.
Right.
It was another religion.
Okay.
And we will talk about that later.
Okay.
Yep. But it is quite different from, also extremely different and probably quite opposed to the Jewish religion that they were following at that time in Galilee and Judea. But what Yeshua liked the most is the people. They are very happy, smiling, and they are dressed with a lot of bright colors.
Oh, that's totally different for him, right?
Yeah, totally different because, again, on the Jewish side, you know, it was always the brown robes or the white robes for the Essenes.
Right.
But there was no search into being beautiful or elegant or anything like that.
Right, right.
There's something that civilization or that culture was not putting any emphasis on, you know.
A dull palette.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
if you want,
Yeah.
And so he find that extremely, for him it's an eye-opening. He find that extremely pleasant. And he understands now the remark that the guy from the caravan, you may remember in the previous episode we talked about a guy with a turban on his head. We don't know his identity, but he had a turban. And he asked Yeshua, why is it that when you are on the spiritual path, you're always sad. And you have no humor? And you understand that, because that guy was probably coming from that place.
Right.
Or from that culture. And he found them, you know, extremely jovial, and the people are happy. They live under, you know, beautiful weather, you know, which also you can find on the Mediterranean basin. But it's an enormous gap between this new culture
Right.
and the one that he left behind him.
Especially the Nazarene.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially the Nazirs. Yeah.
The Nazir, sorry.
Oh
I keep
my
going
gosh,
Nazarene. I keep thinking of the Bible, sorry. Yep, Nazirs.
And so he asked Yosh, you know, how is it that those people are so happy? I mean, what's going on? And Yosharam tells him something interesting. He says, you know, those people do not have the same God as we do. They actually veneer multiple divinities.
Okay.
So it's a vast range of divinities, you know, which are used in different scenario of your life, and that's probably why they are different. And he said, you know, on our side we have a kind of a very stern and vengeful God, you know, like the
Yahweh.
the Yahweh of the Jewish culture, you know.
Right.
And it's implacable and terrible laws, you know, and retributions if you don't do anything good. So, again, this is something that will, I think, tailor and help create the new way of thinking for Yeshua in the future when he will be teaching human beings. And I think it's very important to realize that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's going out and getting those experiences.
Yes, exactly. Because there is only by getting out to foreign countries and by learning the culture of other people, you know, the language and the way they live,
Right.
that you can actually come and understand how the world functions. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's my opinion.
Well, that's how it is today
Yeah.
too, right? You know, it's good to go get out of your environment and meet new
Yes.
people and.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed that episode. Our next episode will be still, you know, the endless walk, and we're going to go through Iran, Iraq, and other countries, Turkmenistan, which was not Turkmenistan at that time, you know.
Right.
And then Afghanistan, Kashmir. So we are not there yet.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope to see you back.